Welcome back to the Zmar podcast. I have Jason Priest with me. We're going to talk about the fatherhood experience and what he's doing for these great men that we call fathers out there. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Butch. I appreciate you having me on, man. Excited for our interview.
Hey, I appreciate you spending the time. So can you give our audience a little bit of background, Jason Priest, and then maybe a little introduction to how you got the fatherhood experience?
Yeah, man. So I'll kind of blend it all together. Reality is this: is a lot of people that are in my space, and when I say my space, we'll call it the health, the fitness, the weight loss, fat loss space, if you will. Generally speaking, most of those people go through their own journey, and that's how they become passionate about helping others. I had a similar journey, but mine was a really long time ago. And so I'll kind of walk you through that. I had a troubled, checkered past as a kid. My dad was not super involved in my life, mainly just for sports. I played soccer. I was very athletic, played soccer for 15 years, and I was pretty good at that. And I almost think that he was like living out his dream for himself through me, right? Like he wanted to play baseball, and this was his thing for a while. So that was my parents were divorced at a young age, and that was really how I was raised in a single parent household. My mom got remarried when I was 13 or something. And so that guy was never really my dad. Great dude, but not my dad. And so I didn't really have a true father figure growing up. Kind of figured life out on my own. Went through a really dark path, right? Got mixed up with the wrong crowd. I was one of the wrong crowd, I guess. Nobody ever claims that they were part of the wrong crowd. I own that. I own all of my shortcomings. Got into drugs and really went down a dark path, and decided that I needed to get out of that dark path very quickly because I was smart enough to know that I was headed in the wrong direction. So I decided to randomly, and when I say random, I was going to community college. I heard a couple of dudes talking about nursing school. One of them was an EMT already, and one of them, I forget what he did. They were both talking about starting the next semester. Turns out I did start the next semester, and I never saw either one of those dudes again, but they kind of fueled my health path, if you will. Got into nursing school, quit all drugs, got my head on straight, graduated from nursing school at 23 and started working in the ICU. As you well know, at 23, most dudes are far from mature, and I was still a 17 or 18-year-old living in a 23-year-old body, if you will. Still very immature, didn't have my head on straight. I met my wife shortly after nursing school. We got married in 2005. 2 months after we got married, my mom, who was one of my best friend, died at 49 years of age. I was 25. My wife was 23. And boom, life just smacked me in the face. I was still fairly fit at this point, but once my mom died, I went through a very dark depression. Started drinking beer. I was working night shift in the ICU at the time, 12-hour shifts. I would get off work, go straight to the golf course with a couple buddies, drink beer, eat fast food until I had to go back home, go to sleep, and do it again the next day. Clearly, this is not a path of health. I ended up gaining damn near 60 pounds. I was 60 pounds overweight at my heaviest. And I lived like this for several years. My wife got accepted to pharmacy school. She's a pharmacist. We moved about 3 hours from what we were calling home at the time to some strange small town. And I was lost, lonely, had no clue what I was going to do. My wife was fully entrenched in pharmacy school, as you can imagine. Her schedule was stacked. So I just kept drinking beer, kept eating fast food. I kept putting on the weight. I stopped weighing myself at 232 pounds, 232 pounds. I'm 5'10". I now weigh 172, so about 60 pounds overweight. And she didn't ride my butt, but she definitely made some hints throughout the years of pharmacy school, which was 4 years. And finally, the very last year, living in that town, when she was about to graduate, about 6 months left, and she said, "Hey, I have this gym. It's free for you because I'm in school. You should try it out." I went. I got addicted to spin class, of all things, which I have not done a spin class in 15 years now. Got addicted to spin class, and 9 months later, I was down 60 pounds, and I found myself as a skinny fat individual, which is what happens when you do all cardio, no weights. So then I became very passionate about fitness, started lifting weights, got really into bodybuilding, put on a bunch of muscle mass. We left that strange town, moved back to Dallas, and I started working in corporate wellness, doing health coaching. This is where I really became passionate about coaching and really helping people get healthy because I figured out a simpler way to do it after going through trying the keto and the Whole30 and all the fad diets and all the cardio. I lost all my weight using cardio. However, there is a much simpler path, and which is what we teach our guys now, and we teach zero cardio. So that's in a nutshell how I got here to be with you today. Started my company in 2018 called Dad Bod Health. Still have some coffee mugs with the logo. It's a dude with two dumbbells, and one's a burger and one's a beer. My focus was going to be to help guys be able to eat burgers and drink beer and lose weight. And I was very successful at that for a while. And then I met my business partner in 2020, shortly after COVID. We decided we wanted to work with only fathers. We were very aligned. And the fatherhood experience was born. And that's a little bit about my journey and how I got to be here with you. So
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely a great story in the journey, right? And you've had your ups and downs, which you could share with your clients that you've been there, right? And
yeah.
but I must say that it's got to be quite a challenge, right? To go from the 230 something and then you're down to 170 something.
Yeah.
And just from speaking from my own experience, this was before COVID. There was a local shop that was doing a 6-week program. You lose 15 pounds, you get your money back. And so, well, I went for 6 months because the money kept rolling, right? But when I got down to 170, right, it was 178. I couldn't maintain it. I was dehydrated. I couldn't sustain it. And so I stopped the program, moved over to their strength training program, and I skyrocketed 20 pounds. And then it just slowly just keeps creeping. Now today I'm back up, I'll get back up there, but I eat healthier today than ever before. Right. But still, right. And I'm just using that. How did and then you said you're still maintaining and you probably teach this to other people, but the biggest hardest thing, because you can lose weight really fast, but how do you just maintain it? Right. Is that taught in the program to help maintain and longevity for these fathers?
Yeah, that's our biggest focal point is sustainability. And we have some pretty aggressive programs. And then we have more of the lifestyle kind of program. And, it really depends on which path you want to take. The guys that come into our platinum program, they're the guys that want to learn the process and go through exactly what both Zach was overweight too. He's my business partner. Go through what both of us went through, figuring out and learning the process along the way. Because when I got into bodybuilding, I became meticulous about my macros and my protein and all these things. I pay attention to none of that now. And I'm in the best shape of my life. I'll be 44 at the end of this month. And I mean, I have a 6-pack, dude, and I walk around like this all year long. When I say I'm a health minimalist, I'm truly a health minimalist. I'm in the gym 4 days a week. I follow a very regimented eating schedule, let's say Monday through Friday. And then, dude, I let loose on the weekends. I eat whatever I want, whenever I want. I am a human garbage disposal on the weekends. And I often joke with my business partner that, you've heard of carb cycling. I do something more along the lines of calorie cycling. Like I'm in a deficit all week long, knowing that I'm going into the weekend because I'm like, this is family time for me. We love to eat out on patio. I live in Texas, so patios are a huge thing here. I like a margarita or a cold beer on occasion. And so when we're outdoors and we're enjoying time on our own patio or out at a restaurant, like I'm not watching and paying attention to what I order. I'm just not. And so in order to live that life on the weekends, I make a little bit more sacrifice and I'm more regimented during the week. And this is kind of the same methodology that we teach in the lifestyle program, because most guys want that, right? Like you want to be able to go out with your family and have pizza on the weekend and not worry that you're going to gain 5 pounds. And that's really what the strategies are behind what we teach. Teach a little bit around the alcohol and like why it's important to block that to certain days. And, because when it comes to fat loss and sleep is huge. Most people don't want to talk about sleep, want to talk about diet and exercise. Sleep is one of the most crucial components of losing fat and losing fat efficiently. And so when you're not getting good quality of sleep, you're going to be chasing your tail. I worked with a lot of guys who have high stress, low sleep, and their diet and their nutrition and their fitness is on point. They lack the pillars of sleep and stress management. We have 4 pillars that we teach: sleep, stress management, nutrition, fitness. Mindset kind of encompasses it all. And so, yeah, I mean, this is what we teach our guys, because we don't have repeat clients. We got a guy I posted on LinkedIn and Facebook today about this guy. His name is Nick. He was 5'8" when he came to us. He was 250 pounds. He hired us like 2 years ago, dude. Now he's posting selfies all the time, gym pics and all this. And he's rolling around at a cool one. He's 5'8", like I said. He's like 165, 166, got visible abs. You look at his picture at 250, And this guy was a disaster, man. Like you could tell he was hiding in pictures. He was miserable, just swollen all over the place. And so, yeah, that's what our biggest focus is look, man, we're going to help you not only get rid of it, but I'm not going to teach you keto or carnivore or something that you're not going to be able to sustain. I'm going to teach you real nutrition. I'm going to teach you a real path forward so that you can live this way the rest of your life. The reality is this, dude, if you can buy in to strength training or resistance training in some form or fashion, it is going to make your fitness journey much simpler. I didn't say easy, but much simpler. And so if you can develop the discipline to get into the gym several times a week and focus mostly on the resistance training component, man, like it's a game changer when it comes to fat loss. And most people get fixated on the cardio piece, and they don't really think about that. It's like this sweat it out, like, burn as many calories as I can mentality. And they lose sight of the fact that there's so many advantages to working with progressive overload, doing strength training, and having the fat burning process happening in between workouts versus cardio. It shuts off as soon as your heart rate's back down. And so lots of things we can dive into, but yeah, that's the gist of it for sure.
So, and you made a comment before we started recording. It's also not the lifestyle where you can have a piece of cake but you have to fast for 24 hours.
Oh gosh, yeah. Right? So I told you this was one of our, I don't know if I call him a competitor because we're not competing with that nonsense, but
yeah, right.
He gets clients, so I guess it's a competitor. But these extreme diets and these extreme fads out there, let's face it, like when you take a look around this country, we have a very a massive cultural problem and a massive obesity epidemic. And unfortunately, we're headed in a very wrong direction quickly. The numbers continue to skyrocket. I think we're at 70-something percent overweight, 40% obese. It is a scary, scary trend to be the fattest and sickest nation in the world, but yet be the most resourceful. I saw a stat the other day that said we are 4% of the world population. So, and that would make sense. 8 billion people, 350 million people. I guess that's 4%. But we use 41% of the pharmaceuticals produced in the world. Like, let that sink in. 4% of the population, but 41% big pharma pushed our way. Now, US and New Zealand are the only ones that are where it's legal to advertise big pharma. So I'm sure that plays into it a little bit. But the reality is we're all looking, and me included, we're all looking for the magic pill, the easy fix, the immediate gratification. I can get on my phone and order anything off Amazon or get groceries delivered in 10 minutes or whatever this nonsense is. We all want that with health. And unfortunately, up until this point in history, it's never been figured out, and there is no magic pill. If you want to cut off your leg to lose 40 pounds, go for it. That's not how it works. And so, that's basically it.
Yeah, that leads into another topic we were going to talk about where, even though you call it a epidemic or, just pandemic, if you want to call it.
Yeah,
but,
there you go.
But yeah, and you have content on your website that, we talk about it became a normalcy, right? And so I'm not bringing this up for politics, but like during COVID,
Sure.
like masks became a normal thing, right? Like, and all of a sudden things became normal. But what's the new normal, right? Well, and I guess when it comes to health, it's interesting because you could sit there at a grocery store or a mall and watch people walk by, and the normal is not the normal. There was the meme that was going around, I know, on Facebook for a while, where they had two pictures, and they had one of these guys like downtown Chicago in suits, super thin. You could see the curvature of the neck, like healthy people.
Yeah.
And then they had this other picture where people were big necks, big shirts, big everything. And like what happened between the last, 50, 60, 70 years, right? So a lot has changed. But I think like your content, Sharon, this is probably what you have in your program where it's normal, right? Like if you hung around with all your normal people, if they're all healthy, you'd be a natural tendency to gravitate that way. And I think I don't know if we were recording yet, but you said you become the average of the group that you hang out with, right?
So you're spot on, man. And environment and association is everything, right? And so like you just said, with the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or whatever the saying is, if you and I'll just say this from I talked about my drug history when I was in my teens.
Mm-hmm.
When you only associate with those type of people, like what else are you going to do? So like as a fit guy right now, right? If I went out and sought out in the community, a guys group to be a part of. And I was really lonely, right? And I didn't have anybody. And I was like, you know what? I just need to go get some dude talk in.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
go and I find a coffee shop and I find 5 fat dudes. And I'll just call it what it is, 5 guys who are obese. And we start spending more and more time together. Well, like generally speaking, I'm gonna start to let my foot off the gas. I'm gonna start doing more things that they're doing. And so I can't overemphasize the importance of getting around people that you want to be more like, right? And it's not necessarily an envy or a jealousy thing, but like fitness minded people, people that are focused on their health and like fitness is a priority for them, they're some of the most outgoing people and they're some of the least critical people, right? Like I don't go to the gym and see obese people and like snicker and make fun of them. I'm like cheering them on in my head. I'm like, yeah, I'll come be part of our crowd because I used to be like you, right? And so when you think like that, when you talk about normalcy, you know, you mentioned the mask thing. Nowadays, there's still some people wearing those things, but like I'm in Texas and I don't see any fit people wearing masks, right? Like they know that they don't need they can breathe raw air and they're going to be okay, right? And so when you start thinking about guilt by association, when you say normalcy, I saw somebody on Twitter. This guy had gone to Europe and he was sharing his story. Like he said, man, his tweet was something around the line. I don't know if they call them tweets anymore, but post was something along the lines of one of the most depressing things is always when I get off the airplane coming back into America and seeing all the obese people shuffle through the airport because you go to the mall or any large gathering and yeah, that's all you're going to see is like, again, the obesity rate now is close, like 40%, overweight is like 70. So that tells you that you just take a look around. I go to the grocery store right now. What am I going to see mostly? Overweight people. You don't come across like being fit now is like you're in the minority. And so part of our angle with our guys is like, man, if you want to rise above and like lead by example and influence others, you're going to have to get used to doing hard work, right? Like doing hard work when you don't want to do hard work. And that's just the bottom line is if you want to continue to look for the magic pill or the easy fix, you're going to continue to meet resistance in your life because it doesn't exist. And so it's very easy to get mixed up with, like most people's family members are obese. I'll use mine for example. Yeah. I'm in San Antonio with my most of my wife's family's here. And like, dude, we're not a fit family. Like no one's over here like doing pull-ups on Thanksgiving. I mean, like my wife and I are like the fit ones. There's 1 or 2 others that are not super overweight. And like, that's just how it is. And it's sad. It's like no knock on them, but that's where our culture is. We have fallen so far as a society and as a culture. It is going to take a massive swing to get back to where we need to be for the health of our country. And it takes strong men leading that charge.
Sure. Well, speaking of strong men, right, I'm going to lead to, the guys that you work with and you refer to them as your guys, but you took a niche into those who are dads, right? Those are a father and talking about normalcy, right? So the dads are out there making the sacrifices, right? They're out there, striving all day long, making the money so that the kids could grow up, maybe mom to stay home, right? There's a lot of burden that's on their shoulders. And then after work, they're flying. So around, like you had mentioned, eating fast food all the time, going to the golf course. Well, dad's trying to do that. And maybe they're going to the golf course too, but they're also trying to chauffeur all these kids around, do all these activities, and they don't have time to cook. They don't have time to prepare. And so, or at least they think, right, one of the biggest hurdles is time, right? And you guys address that in your program. And so I guess I'm curious on how did you move towards working with just fathers, right, or dads out there that want to make a difference? And then I guess what kind of success have you had by narrowing that niche down to just the dads?
That's a good question. And I'll tell you this, I think, I think one of the things that I'm most grateful for is that I went through my weight loss journey before I became a dad. My wife and I were married for 10 years before we had our first son. And so I'm a quote unquote older dad. I mentioned I'm going to be 44 this year. And I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. And the 3-year-old keeps me young, right? So I love it. I love being a dad at this age. And I'm glad I didn't have them when I was 25 because they'd be gone now, And so I'm soaking it up. And so I think some of the insight that I have of being able to maintain my level of fitness while doing the chauffeuring the kids around, because my wife, like I work from home. So I do most of the taxing. My wife is a pharmacist. She works a regular like 9 to 5, 8 to 5 kind of deal. And with that being said, I'm the one that takes my kids go to Catholic school. I'm the one that takes them to school in the morning. I went to mass this morning to see my son. You know, he had a little line in mass. And so I'm the one doing the practices and all that. And so if I can stay in great shape, in the best shape of my life, at 44 or almost 44, with 2 young kids at home, there's no reason why the guys that we're working with can't start to make progress and get into a better spot, because I've already mastered it. I'm not struggling through it right now. I've already mastered the concept. And so niching down to dads was really, I have 2 kids. My business partner has 2 kids. Dads are who we relate most with, right? Like I've worked with women in the past, and they're just a different animal. I want to go back to something that you said about the women, the dad going off to work and the woman being at home. That's another massive cultural issue that we have, is that more and more women are in the workplace. And so you don't have that nuclear family that you once had. And that's why we're seeing a lot of the problems. Childhood obesity is on the rise, because if parents are fat, kids are going to be fat, and that's just the way that it goes.
That's normalcy.
So, yeah, there's your normalcy, right? So, right. It's rarely do you see a fit family with 1 fat kid, right? It doesn't. I've seen it like once or twice since we moved here, and it's just not that common. And that kid might have other challenges, might be a video game addict, and the kid parent, I don't know. There's a lot of factors that come into play there.
Sure.
But with that said, the success that we have is really, I think from our standpoint, like we changed the structure of our programs, I don't know, 6 months ago or so. And it's just been a massive help to our guys, because now we used to run mostly just a group program. And now we're running small. And when I say group, there'd be like 30 or 40 guys on our calls. And now what we take no more than 5 in a group. And me and Zach personally meet with them every single week. So it's a Zoom call with 3 to 5 dudes. And we're getting deep, and they build that bond with each other, but they see that we're going through it and we're in the trenches with them. If they're at the gym and they post a picture or something like that, Zach and I are doing the same thing in our little messenger pod, right? Like we create a little messenger chat. We're all in there together. So if they have questions or problems that come up during the week before their call, they can get a hold of us. But we're seeing them face to face every week. And so that level of accountability also keeps us accountable. I'm not going to let my foot off the gas and skip the gym for 2 weeks, which would never happen. But I'm not going to do that knowing that I've got guys that are looking at me as leadership to say, hey, man, like I'm here at the gym and it sucks. I don't love it every time I'm here, but I'm still here. Like when we get off this call today, I'm going to the gym to do legs. Does anybody get super? I guess there's a few select individuals who get excited about legs, but like going and putting weight on your back and doing squats, heavy squats, is you're choosing discomfort. In this day and age, in this modern day and age, you have to choose discomfort. We talked about immediate gratification and all these things being right at our fingertips now, and health just isn't that way. And so seeing us choose hard when we don't want to do hard inspires them to do the same thing. And then we start to build them up over time with their mindset, teaching them the ins and outs of nutrition. We often tell them you can have anything you want, you just can't have everything you want. And so eating 5 slices of pizza on a Tuesday night when you're in the mix of the week is probably not a good idea. And so, this is, it's pick and choose your battles. But I think in terms of success, it's probably what we're very compassionate to the guys who show up and do the work. We have zero compassion for guys who sign up with us and then disappear because they think they put a Band-Aid on their problem. That is not why we do what we do. And so we see very few of those these days because of the way that we've changed our program. If we meet you on Zoom every week and you don't show up, we're going to call you on it, dude, because that's why you signed up with us, is to have us help you change your life. And there's no more precious asset than your health when it comes to life. And I think we can both agree on that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It sounds a lot when you're walking through that. They sound like gym rats, right? Or what I call gym rats, right? The guys that spend a lot of time there and they're like, yeah, I went to the gym and they have 0 results.
I see those guys all the time. There's guys at my gym right now that I see that have been on the elliptical. They're on the same elliptical 45 minutes or an hour every time I go there. And they look the same for the last year, 2 years, 3 years. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, I don't understand how you can continue to show up here, because I'm showing up to the same gym, and I certainly don't look like you. My workouts are no more than 30 minutes. I am in the gym 4 times a week for 25 to 30 minutes each time, and that is it. All I do is weights. My cardio is walking my crazy little Boston Terrier 5 times a week for 15 minutes in the morning because he pesters me unless he gets his walk, right? And that is it. It's built into my lifestyle. I don't go out of my way to do cardio because I don't need the cardio. And so I think, there's so many ways to skin a cat, but like when you're looking for simplicity, I always say that the only shortcut in life is finding someone who's done it already and learning from their experience. And that's business coaching, that's health coaching and fitness coaching, that's mindset coaching, whatever. All you're doing is leveraging the tools of somebody who's done it and been through the trenches and put in the work so that you can hopefully learn from their mistakes and shortcut your process, which is, what we're trying to do.
So let's highlight your program, the experience, right, a little bit. So somebody lands on your website, they're looking at the next steps. What can they expect in the program? Just a high level 50,000 foot overview. What do they expect out of the program?
I will tell you that they can expect results because we put our money where our mouth is. If we don't get you results, then we continue to work with you for free, man. Like that's how committed we are to your results. But there's a commitment part of that, right? Like if you got to show up each week. And I'm not saying if you're sick, you can't miss a workout. Like that's fine. We are human beings. We're not robots. But like if you're the guy that skips 4 calls in a row, you have no accountability. You're failing yourself. And so what you can expect is this: to learn a very sustainable way of living, like to simplify it as much as possible. We place a large emphasis on support and accountability. And so with our guys, especially with our top 2 programs, our gold and our platinum program, you're going to see us every single week on your private call. You also have an open office hour call that you can attend on Monday morning if you're in a funk to come get questions answered, bounce ideas, whatever, get additional help. And then we have a group class, which is the class that I taught right before our call today, which is for everybody in our program. So you essentially could do 3 calls a week. If you can't get your crap together 3 times a week and you're there to truly change your life, then you're doing something way wrong, right? Our success rate is extremely high. We've only had to use our guarantee 1 time, and it was because the guy was lying about his nutrition. He was a shady client, probably should have never brought him on. Yeah. But anyway, so what you can expect is compassion, results-driven mentality, but we're going to hold your feet to the fire, man. Like, we're not there to be your friend. A lot of our clients, we do some in-person retreats. We've got one coming up in Vegas at the end of the month. We do some of them here in Texas. And that's really a mindset get together. We're going deep and like really helping you move forward and put some of the struggles in the past behind you for good. But you can expect maximum support, high-level coaching, where we're teaching you everything that you need, all the nuances about health and fitness, but really teaching you and placing an emphasis on the simplest path forward so that you're not spending. You heard my gym time, 2 hours a week. That's it. I don't want you in the gym 4 or 5 hours a week. I don't want you spending 6 hours on Sunday doing meal prep. I'm teaching you a path forward as a dad, as a busy dad who's juggling family, career, all those things that we juggle. Being a dad is hard. It's also the best job in the world, but it's one of the hardest jobs in the world. And if you truly want to live up to your potential as a father, that means you got to lead by example. And so we're getting into your head from our standpoint and saying, hey, look, man, like we know it's hard because we do it every week and you can too. We place a large amount of belief in our guys because we know it's possible. All you got to do is show up and put in the work. And so we cover it all, man. We have a full educational curriculum that you get access to. We have our Facebook group, which is really not a super popular thing now that we changed our program structure because we see our guys on a Zoom call every week. They all have a little private messenger pod with us. They all text us like we're Johnny on the spot. If you're at, on a Tuesday and you forget your lunch and you got Chick-fil-A or Chipotle, you can come ask us and we're going to tell you, hey man, we recommend this to make your life simple so that we're trying to take as much of the guesswork as we possibly can out of it. Simplicity is what we're looking for so that you can get results, feel a heck of a lot better, and show up and be the role model and the leader that your family needs and deserves.
All right. All sounds awesome. So if somebody listening to this podcast that wants to sign up or get more information, what's the best way to reach out to you?
I mean, you can go on our website and there's multiple. You can shoot us a messenger. We have a little chat bot that will answer you there. And then our team takes over the messaging. There's a form you can complete on the actual website. We actually have a phone number. I don't have it memorized, but I can give you the phone number too.
Hmm.
Because the reality is texting is where everybody, you're not going to miss a text message, right? And so
Hmm.
for us, like the easier it is for somebody to get a hold of us, the better chances are that they can come into our world and at least get some of the value that we have to offer them. We have a free guide that we give out to guys. We used to have a landing page. We don't anymore. We changed all of our software, and so it's one of those things that's kind of on the list of things to do. But I can give you the link. You can put it in the show notes for guys.
Yep.
You don't even have to opt in. It's just a Google link to hopefully
Yep.
go give you some value. We're not big opt-in guys, man. Like you see the value. If you love what you have to love what we have to say, come get in our world and let us help you and let us show you a better way. And so those are the main things. I think our phone number is also on the website. Yeah, it's on the website. If you go to the bottom of the any of the pages.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So the phone
yeah.
number for the ones listening to this, it's 830-745-4585.
There
It's
you
the
go.
fatherhoodexperience.com. We'll put them in the show notes so
There
they
you
can
go.
reach out to you. And then I'd love to have you back at some point. We'll get some updates, maybe some testimonials, how things are going in your world, especially with the world of dad. So, hey, Jason, this has definitely been great. I appreciate all the time and the words of wisdom that you put, especially inspiring dads out there.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on, man. This was fun. And I'll tell you this, I'll end with this. We are not we are a small company by design. We stopped trying to do the big group thing. And because we build better relationships when we work personally with our guys. And so if you text us, like I or Zach will personally respond to every text. We are not handing you off to anybody. And I think that's the additional level of care that we can provide that some of these bigger, PDF in a box companies can't provide. And that's what really, I think, truly separates us. So thanks for having me on.
I would agree. Yeah, I agree. Well, everything will be in the show notes, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you.